So, I guess let me just let me get comfy. So can I do this? I could do this. Oh wow, this is nice. So we don't know what the podcast is yet. We don't know what it's called, but what I do know is that I want it to be about faith. I want it to be about financials or business, and I want it to be about love. And when I say love, that encompasses a whole lot. Self-love, love with others, love with friends, family, all types of love.
And love with God.
And love with God. Yeah.
The most important part.
Most important part. So, there's no particular order. I really just want us to flow here and talk about a bunch of different things. But one of the reasons for this particular initial pod is just introducing this new season in our lives. Specifically in mine, too, because, we started a business together. So for introductions, actually, because I didn't even... Let me do the introductions. My name is Di. My name is Dayanara Negron, but I go by Di. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a mom. I am a sister, a daughter, a friend, a psycho. No, I'm kidding. I'm eclectic. I'm a lot of things, but most importantly, I'm a child of God, and I want to take a minute to introduce these. Guys, it's a lot of beauty in the room right now. I'm hot. So I'm gonna start with you. Tell us who you are. Share with us. Who are you? What do you do? What's your passion?
So my name is Xena Robinson. I am an attorney.
Okay.
Do a couple things with that. I deal with landlords. I deal with employees, employers, businesses, contracts, you name it. And who am I? First and foremost, I identify as a child of God. I am a strong believer in Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. If not work, if not with friends, if not with family, more than likely, you're going to catch me at church serving, doing something.
She's always doing something.
But yeah, so born and raised in Worcester, Nigerian background. Igbo for my Nigerians out there, so you can identify that. Yeah, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. The pleasure is honestly mine. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you became an attorney? Just real quick, I just want to know.
To be 100% honest, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think in my culture, you have to pick something. Either you go to law school, you become a doctor, an engineer, and I don't know math. So doctor and engineer was out of the cards for me.
This is actually funny because you don't even know what she does. So
I do.
I do. It's just really tied out there. That's so funny.
So math is not it for me. So I had to pick something. So, law was really where it was at.
She's my inspiration.
I love you. And so I went to law school, did all that. But I guess it was later on that I actually realized that I actually like it. But in the beginning, when I first started pursuing it, it was because I didn't really know what to do. Mm-hmm. And so I just picked it. Mm-hmm. I know that's not a good reason, but...
That's real, though.
Right. I love that.
I relate to that as well.
Mm-hmm. And the law firm, real quick, how'd that come about?
Well, the law firm came about because I lost my job, if we're being honest on this podcast.
Love that.
I actually lost my job 2023, and I didn't know what else to do. I actually was thinking about just quitting law altogether. I just didn't see the need for putting in any more effort. I wanted to leave the field. And then one of my mentors was like, so you went to law school, you did all that just to not do it anymore? And I was like, I could care less about the degree, to be honest. I don't care about the title. Honestly, it was stressful to begin with anyway. And I thought about my mom. One of my other mentors was like, so your mom spent all this money, did all that, all the hours she worked. And I'm like, damn, I didn't even think about her. And I hadn't even told her yet. I actually only just told her this year that I was like, by the way, I don't...
I was almost going to all your money was going to go to waste.
Yeah, I was like, by the way, I haven't worked in a couple of months, over a year.
Wow.
And she's like, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me? I was like, obviously I don't want to disappoint you,
right.
you know. But I thought about her and I was like, all right, at least let me try something for the sacrifices that she made so that it doesn't go to waste. And then I started my own law firm.
That's honorable.
That's awesome.
And what is your law firm called?
Mahanim Law.
What does Mahanim stand for?
God's Camp.
Hey.
I found it in scripture one day and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is my law
That's
firm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Mahanim, that's Mahanaim for anybody who's inquiring and needs an attorney. So to my left here, tell me a little bit about
Hello,
yourself.
everyone.
What is your name?
My name is Kiara, and currently I'm a doctoral student. So I'm studying measurement, evaluation, statistics, and assessment. So that's a very long name.
I just got a headache. That's
yeah,
crazy.
so I'm pretty much studying how to quantify impact and evaluating programs and policies and really anything like medical treatments, business strategies, using data science to learn about if organizations, programs, companies are reaching the goals that they set out to reach in the complex world that we live in, right? Because sometimes you set out to do something and you make, right, with anything that you do, you make assumptions because you can't take into consideration all of the complexities that could come about. So
I love that. Where do you go to school?
And I'm at Boston College right now.
Let's
go.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
Yeah, really enjoying my time there. And I resonated with Xena's story about like leaving that work, dealing with that trauma, and also like not knowing what you were gonna do either. Because like as a first generation college student, I also didn't know like what to do. So I ended up majoring in math, master's in math, and then I had actually started another doctoral program in mathematics that I ended up deciding to leave, and then God brought me right where I was meant to be. So,
Amen. What's your passion?
my passion would be education and empowering others, and that's why I'm in the field that I am in now, so that I could leverage my quantitative skills to really foster equity and learn about what's actually working and serving the populations that we say we want to serve, and like what's not, right? So like our efforts are like really focused and really making the impact we want. So really all things equity.
I love that. I think that kind of work is so important. And obviously, our audience doesn't know because we have like conversations outside of this, but can you just share a little bit more about kind of like what we talked about yesterday with respect to like one of the main projects that you're going to be working on for the next, 7 weeks, 6 weeks?
Oh yeah, my intermediate statistics.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I have a research assistantship, so I'm working on research, and one of the projects I'm working on is studying the Indiana school choice program. So historically, the United States had given out like a bunch of like school improvement grants across the nation for low performing schools to try to turn them around. So they had like 4 options, like they can fire their principal, like fire a certain amount of teachers, like really try to turn the school around. And like basically years and years and years went by, and like the program wasn't as effective as like we had hoped for. And so now they're shifting towards these school choice programs where they're using public taxpayer dollars to give to families a percentage of or their complete per pupil funding per student. So that's pretty much like every school has like a number for per student that they spend to educate that student in a school year. So instead of like just giving that to the public school, they give it to the family, so they can either they can keep their traditional public school, send them to another public school, or enroll them in a private school. So that'll help pay for the tuition. So in essence, the programs are like aiming to provide school choice to families that otherwise wouldn't have them. But obviously there's like a lot to unpack there. So on the surface, things always usually sound like, oh wow, like that's a wonderful initiative. But like I said, we live in a complex world. So unfortunately, like they haven't seen much improvement in like student gains or even like school improvement, because basically the model's based on like making the school system a market system. Like, because now the public schools are competing with the private schools, like every school is going to have more of a demand to deliver a quality education. Like, that was like what the premise was of like this whole initiative. And so since they're not seeing what they hoped they would see, that's why like we're studying this. So basically right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to study like why are parents still using these vouchers, and like why are policymakers still expanding these programs even though we're not seeing the outcomes that we wanted to see, right? Like we're not seeing student improvement in performance, which obviously like test scores is only one measure, but it's like a good measure that we have. And so I'm going to study reasons why. So I'm going to model like the number of vouchers used against like the number of inexperienced teachers as like a measure for school quality, and like percentage of non-white students, percentage of free or reduced price lunch students, percentage of like per school district, and see like what's, if anything, driving the use of vouchers.
I love that. And I think that for me, what was most interesting about that when you were telling me that, like above the surface, I know obviously you're getting your PhD in, well, it's math related, right? And you, like, I would have never, and I'm sure most people can relate. I don't know if you can relate. Like, well, you also have like a bachelor's degree. I never pursued that. I'm currently pursuing that, but like to think that math is so important with respect to research.
Yeah, no, honestly, like people really underestimate math.
Yeah.
Because this whole world
is mathematical.
Yeah, every part of
literally. And that's what I love that you're doing that, and I think that that's extremely meaningful work, period. Like, regardless, like, I think that that's the type of research that we need and that, like, we need to know about. Like, I was fascinated when you were telling me yesterday. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I've never heard of.
Zina's like, I don't even do multiplication.
But it makes sense. Like, why are the numbers the way they are? Why isn't there any improvement?
Right.
But yet, this money could honestly be used for probably something greater, or probably to fix the whatever issues that you actually end up finding.
Right.
Maybe the money can then be diverted towards that. So.
Right. And in a perfect world, we would hope so, right?
But
what I take away from what both you do, what you're doing, is that like we're really trying to make some change. Like, and that's dope. You know what I mean? Like that there's people that still care like about this type of stuff, because, and here's where I'm gonna go with this, and I'm just flowing here. So I guess whatever. I feel like above the surface, people would see like women like us right now in this very moment. Like, we're dressed, we have our makeup on, we look so good. I'm pretty sure nobody would assume that we're doing this deep work that we're doing.
Oh yeah. No,
right? Like, people are so shallow.
I remember like literally I went to therapy for a short time in my life, and like my therapist told me like he like one of the first questions was like, what do you do? And at the time I was actually a visiting professor, and when I told him, he was like, oh wow, like I thought you were gonna say hairdresser. Like literally, like he literally said like a therapist. Like,
you'd be surprised how often that happens. It happens so in
every industry,
in the legal industry. If you're a person of color, a lot of the time you'll go to court and they think either you're the client, or the last thing they suspect is that you're the attorney.
Remember, we went to court together one day, and she looked professional. Like, it wasn't like she wasn't just professional, but I had like a blazer on and like things, and they were like, "Are you the attorney?" I'm like, "No, she's the attorney. Like, it's not me." Like, man, we really got to get better at that.
It's the social condition.
Yeah. We've been talking about that a lot. Okay, so what I really wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about my business and how it kind of came to be. So this first segment, or this first half of this pod, is going to be about business. So Xena and I are business partners, and Kiara has been a witness of me running my business for the last like 3 weeks. I've been at her house like hijacking her couch. So she's a witness of it. But Xena and I are actually business partners. We own a property management and consulting company called Trust Us Property Solutions. I'm going to say that again. Trust Us Property Solutions. And real quick, like, Trust Us was birthed through God. God gave me that. April 16th, 2021, I wrote it down. I could show y'all. God gave me the name, Trust Us, and he told me exactly how it needed to be put together. So it's capital T, R-U-S-T, capital U-S, it's one word. And then Property Solutions, God told me to make it something a little bit more vague because I knew that I wanted to do consulting for affordable housing specifically, and then property, even though I heard we're not supposed to have that word. I won't even bring that up. Allegedly, I need you to explain that to me a little bit later, but I know I wanted to do property management and I know that I wanted to do consulting. And so Trust Us Property Solutions allows for the name to be like very vague where we can provide these services. So I wanted to share the story about how Xena and I reunited because God is crazy.
It's really interesting.
God is different. But essentially back in September of last year of 2023, I met an individual who kind of brought a group of us together for this meeting on September 18th. I'll never forget the date. And I didn't know who was going to be at the meeting. I was just told that an attorney was going to be at the meeting and a couple other people were going to be at the meeting. So I was like, oh, bet, like this is cool, whatever. Had no expectations in this meeting. I knew that I was going to be told to kind of pitch like what it is that I had, because I already had this business idea. God gave me, like I said, the name. So when I walk in, I see Xena and she's like, Dayanara? And I was like, Xena? And the reason why I say reunited is because Xena and I actually went to elementary school together up until
elementary
school, up until like 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
And it was just so like such a full circle, like just a really crazy moment. And we hugged each other like if we were soul sisters.
Yesterday.
No, like it was kind
awesome.
of, it was really, really divine. It was really divine. And so we have this meeting, and from this meeting births this company with 5 owners. And, we operated the business with 5 owners for some time until, God was clear that a shift needed to happen. Like point blank period, like a shift needed to happen. And throughout all the time that we were operating this business, Xena and I grew to be extremely close. I don't want to cry, but
You better not.
like I don't want to talk to the camera either. I just want to talk to you. You have become like one of my biggest supporters, like one of my best friends, I can honestly say, and like family to me, to be honest with you. Like I always tell you this, but I want the world to know, like, it's just so easy with you. Like there's just this ease that comes like, and I know, okay, stop. You stop. I don't want to cry. Do this.
I have to do my makeup. You better stop.
I know, just do one of these. But like, I've just never, and I could say the same about you. Like, I can't say that I've often felt this, but like when I feel like something just feels easy, like a friendship feels easy, like that is such a blessing. And I feel that way with you. Like you have been there through like my spiritual journeys, like my erratic, emotionally unregulated, like craziness. And like every small business or every business journey in entrepreneurship, which by the way, like check out my YouTube video where I talk about how I started my property management company and I quit my 6-figure job to do so. But like in every entrepreneurship journey, like there's kinks to iron out. There's tribulations, there's adversity, there's, things that happen that like nobody sees that are behind the scenes. And like, I literally never would have made it. Like, wouldn't have made it.
Like, and the thing is too, like, you wouldn't have been there probably, like, if you were still working your full-time
That's
job.
crazy. I really wouldn't have. I really wouldn't have, because the person that actually brought us together, he's been trying to get me to branch out for a while, but I was like, I don't have time to do any of that. Like, I'm trying to just focus on my job, and I just didn't want. I already
Like,
didn't
that was
want to really
demanding
be
enough.
there. You know what I mean? So no, it really was. So.
And long story short, Xena was just my biggest supporter and my biggest advocate throughout this entire journey that we had other business partners involved. And then there came a moment where it was just like, it's time to branch out. It's time to kind of do our own thing. And Xena actually didn't necessarily want to remain in ownership with me for this business because she felt like it should be 100% mine. But she's stuck with me for life. Like, I don't even care. Like, you're stuck with me. Like every business venture that I go into, everything that I do, like you're always gonna be like there, unless you like can't stand me, but like that's never gonna happen.
Like I'm making this a legal matter.
Yeah, this is a legal matter. No, but like yeah. So Xena has just become like one of my best. You have become one of my best friends, and my business partner, and my confidant, and like wisdom for me, and like my spiritual big sis. You know, like I walked into that meeting thinking I was just gonna like start, you know, possibly start a business with a couple people, and I gained so much more. And at the tail end, like when we decided to kind of branch out into our own and buy out our other business partners and really become a woman-owned, minority-owned, woman-ran company, we went through a lot. Like I would say from August 27th to to September 25th, because that was when we finalized the buyout. Like that was probably one of the darkest times in this year for me. And this woman, I'm gonna tell you the story. This woman literally withheld so much information from me, like, and just like kept in a lot of things that she knew like I would probably panic, lose my mind, and like jump out of this building. And like she just like God gave her this grace. And I don't know how you do it, because this honestly, like, you're better than me. And God knew. I feel like God knew. But the fact that you just carried so much and carried it silently, like, yo.
Yeah, God's written all over.
That was a huge assignment. And you didn't fold. Like, you didn't fold. And I wouldn't have been able to handle any of that without you. Like, it was like God knew. Like, we had, like, I needed you. But, like, there were times where you needed somebody too. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you needed a break from all that, where you needed reprieve, and you didn't necessarily, you don't even complain, bro. Like, I would call her and she'd be like, hey, and just like act like everything was all good. And I'm just like, yo, like, I know everything's not all good, but you know what, God? I've always been the person to kind of be like her. So it felt nice to finally have that. But like, you know, it's your turn now, you know? And like, I want you to know that, like, you withstood through this, like, you held it all the way down. And like, now I'm gonna give back. Like, it's my time to be like supportive to you. That's why when you tell me all the time, like, tell me what to do. What do you need me to do? I can do this. I can do that. I'm like, no, like, you need a break.
But you know what though? It's funny you say all that, because the reason why any of that even occurred in the first place was because of how much, not only passion you have for this, but how much work you put in, back-breaking work. Like, I feel like you poured so much of yourself into this business. And so for us to have to sit and it potentially to go away after everything you worked for, like, no, it's not fair. It's not right. And I really do feel like God put this together specifically for you, right? Because of what you carry, because of where you've brought yourself. There's not a lot of people that can say, you know, like, they were able to literally build themselves up to a point of a 6-figure job and then leave it to start something of their own. Not a lot of people can say that, you know, especially in the way that you did it. And to have to sit there knowing that I could do something about it and not, that's wrong, you know? So it's not because of anything. It's because of who you are as a person. You literally challenge me every single day. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still here. Because I'm like, yo, like, this girl is like, to be honest, like, guys, and you're gonna get to know her, you know her, but like, you know what I mean? Like, this is the type of woman, like, if she's in your corner, you've already won. So it's not, yeah, no, so it was given that it was gonna happen regardless.
And this is what I wanna highlight. Like, this initial episode is just about this new journey. So we've officially shifted, and Trust Us Property Solutions is officially woman-owned, woman-ran, and minority-owned. And bad woman-owned, okay?
Well, like,
we look good. And like, this is a new chapter in our lives as businesswomen, as women of God. And I want to highlight that. Like, I'm in a new season. This last quarter of 2024,
that one
feels like a whole new year, to be honest with you. And that's how I'm gonna treat it. I'm gonna treat it like it's a whole new year for us. And I'm really excited. And I wanted to mention that throughout the entire time that we were doing business together, every time we would get on the phone, we would talk. Every time And I'm talking about every single time. You know, I remember telling my daughter's father this, like, every time we got off the phone, like I always felt like inspired, like motivated. I'm like, oh, like, yo, like, how does she do that? And it's not you, like, it's God through you. But why? Because you have just the heart, like you just have this heart like that. His love can just flow so easily through your heart. And because of that, like every single time when I felt like giving up, when I felt like I couldn't take it, when I felt like I couldn't make it, every time I would get off the phone with you, it was like I felt like my strength renewed. Like that's how much God would use you, like every single time. There's never a time that we talk and I don't feel edified or like better or like more at peace, like in conversation. Even when everything was going on with the buyout and like you weren't necessarily able to give me good news, like it was still like you would still give me like a word of encouragement or like, but it's all good. God's gonna take care of it. Whole time you're freaking out, like. God. And we can't share too much because obviously, you know, confidentiality, things like that, and that's okay. Like we don't need to do all that. But the point is that this is the definition of a rider. Right here. I love you. I love you. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, sis. Thank you. Yeah, and you were there for that journey in the buyout and how you saw how a lot of my stress, like it became an identity for that month. Yeah. I was in bondage.
That was a stretching season.
That was a stretching season.
It was probably one of the biggest tests that I've never had to go through anything like that. And I don't like stress. I don't like drama. I don't like none of that.
And you know what? I love that you said that because you don't like stress. You don't like confrontation.
At all.
And she's a lawyer. Like, why did you become a lawyer if you don't like confrontation? But
girl, no clue.
But God had to allow that too. And despite the fact that you don't like confrontation and you don't like conflict, and you was ready to, like, when you needed to, like, you respectfully and professionally, like, you held it down. So I'm like, oh, she don't like confrontation and conflict because she knows she can get rowdy. Like, she knows that she has a lot to say and you're strong. You are meek. You are meek. And you don't see that a lot in people. I was talking about meekness with Kiara yesterday, and now this is so funny. Now I know why God brought that up. Meekness, my definition of meekness is strength under control of the master. Oh. And if there's anything that I saw from from August 27th to September 25th, it was meekness. Like, you had anger. You were angry. You wanted to bug out. You wanted to maybe say a few cuss words. Maybe. I've never heard her swear, I promise you. But like, you probably had moments where your flesh was like, wanted to be like, yo, F this. I don't want to do none of this. And like, you just carried yourself with this grace. Like, you had strength, but under control of the master. And that is meekness. And you are definitely a meek woman. And I aspire to be meek like that because I have a lot of opinions and strong opinions, and I'm strong-willed and I can be stubborn and I, whatever. But I need to put that under control of God. And I want to testify real quick about this one moment during this process where, we were almost at the finish line and Xena's talking to a specific, person regarding the transactional things with the buyout. And I'm like driving the car and she's like trying to be discreet because she just, she doesn't want me to panic. And when I realize who she's talking to, I flip out. And I'm like, the TikTok. I keep bringing up this TikTok. I don't know. I got to do something about it. But the TikTok was like that was me in the car. And Xena was just like, no. She was like, stop it right now. And I was like, because she doesn't yell. She doesn't have, like, she doesn't. And it wasn't fair to her, like the way that I responded. But it wasn't her that I was like angry with. I was angry with the situation, and she was just so, like, all she had to do was lift her voice just a tad. And I was like, okay. And she was just like, you need, like, she just talked me down, you know what I mean? And just wow. Like, the fact that you don't have to do that all the time, like, you don't have to raise your voice, you don't have to do that. But the moment that you kind of elevate it a little bit, like, you can take control and command the room, like, that's a gift. I love that. Your future husband gonna be real lucky.
Baby, if you listen to this, I love you.
Yeah, exactly. Don't eat any bad food, okay? Make sure you're staying in shape. But perfect segue. Talking about husbands and relationships and everything like that. So I want to shift kind of the conversation a little bit into the next kind of like topic, which is kind of why you know, a lot of what me and Kiara talk about, which is about self-worth, saving ourselves for marriage, trusting God through this process of being single, celibate. Above all, trusting God that He is in control and sovereign of our love lives and of our relationships and things like that. And for the record, everybody here is single and waiting on God.
Yeah.
Okay. You can don't zoom too much, Marrio. But we're waiting on God. We're waiting on God. But transparently, I can say that I'm absolutely failing at waiting on God. And one thing you're going to see in this pod is a lot of transparency. Like, I'm a woman of God and I'm Christian and I identify with Jesus Christ. But I will tell you right now, I am a failing woman of God. And I'm okay with that because His grace is sufficient.
Let's reframe it to a trying woman.
I'm a trying. Oh my God, this is my sis. She helps me to reframe all the time because I'm very self-deprecating. But yeah, like super transparency here. And I don't want just some ground rules laying it down. Like, you guys do not have to be as transparent as me, but I do want to have a transparent moment right now. And I want to shift gears to talk about like celibacy and like this season of singleness and how hard it is to remain consistent in like knowing your self-worth and not like folding. Cause I'm gonna tell y'all, I done folded. And this is why it's another chapter in my life. I just recently separated. I was in a 5-year relationship with my youngest daughter's father. I'm a mom. I have 2 children, 2 beautiful children, a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old. I won't say their names because it's none of y'all business. I'm just kidding. But you can go on my Instagram and you can see. I have 2 beautiful children, but I just recently got out of a long-term relationship. And I'm now in this new season of like being by myself. And it took a long time to really like walk away from something that, you know, no shade, nothing against that person. I love them very much. You know, he gave me a beautiful daughter. But it just, you know, when you do things outside of God's will, like you really have to suffer those consequences. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what this is. Like at the end of the day, God has brought me into this new season where it's time for me to be by myself, and it's time for me to trust in Him and to kind of like value myself now in His eyes, whereas I was before. My value was attached to the person that I was with and their opinion of me. And it's so crazy because I want to share a little bit about how our friendship kind of grew through that process. So Kiara is somebody that I always like had on social media, and we had a mutual friend, a really mutual close friend. So like we would, you know, laugh at each other's stuff and here and there. And I like God had put in my heart a while before her and I even became close. And I recently told her this story that she and I were gonna be close. And I would never like hit her up on social media like, hey, God told me that. Like, but God had like, cause that's super weird and cringy, right? Like, and God had put that in my heart, but I was just like, okay, God, like whatever, you know, whatever it is. And I had these like Aventura concert tickets, and one day she like posted on her story, and she was singing their songs, and I was like, I like the tickets were originally for me and my ex, and I like obviously wasn't with him, and I was like, oh, like I really need to, like I don't want to give up these tickets, like they're floor seats, like it's their last concert, like I love them, like I really want to enjoy this. And she was like singing the song, she's so cute on her social media, and I was like, hey, are you going to the concert? And she was like, no. And I was like, do you want to go? Like, I have this extra ticket. She's like, what? And then from there, like, she was just like, yeah, but like, even before that, like, I don't want to wait for the concert. She was like, let's like grab a coffee or like hang out. Like, let's do something. I'm like, yes, like for sure. Like, I was like, I've never dared to ask you because I didn't want you to think I was weird. And she was like, what the hell is wrong with you? And that's kind of like how things started to develop. So we started to hang out here and there. We ended up not being able to go to the concert together because there was like a conflict, which was fine. I ended up going with my ex and we had a great time as friends. But after that, we kind of just like started hanging out, and you had just started or were going to be starting your PhD. I recently started up in July. I'm in an accelerated bachelor's program because I want to be an attorney. And I'm going to work for my name law. And
you're gonna have your
I'm going to be a partner. And so I'm in an accelerated bachelor's program, which is very intense. So I'm doing that full time. I'm running a business full time. I'm a full-time mom. I'm a full-time fitness. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not a trainer, but I love fitness and I love the Lord. So I'm trying to navigate all that. Kiara is a believer. Kiara was going to be in school full time. Kiara is also into the fitness and health, and
everything aligned.
Everything was just super aligned. And so, and as we continue to grow together, like it just becomes more aligned and even more aligned and even more aligned. And I want to say, like, it's so important to have friendships like that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I will no longer entertain friendships that just aren't aligned. And I never really did, to be honest with you. Like, I've never really had, like, I have certain people that I'm very close to that maybe they're not necessarily doing as much as me, but like, I wouldn't say that like I was like in unaligned friendships too much. But I think that I'm a lot more intentional about where I spend my time. And I've been spending a lot of time with you because like we just do these things. Like we'll literally be like, okay, let's have a productive session. And like, we just sit in her living room or at a place or my house or whatever. And we don't necessarily talk a lot. Like we're just doing our work.
Working. I'm so grateful for that.
No, I'm so grateful for that. And like, that's kind of how our friendship like kind of grew. And now like we're on like a little fast together. And we're waking up early. I was telling her, I'm like, Xena's crazy. Xena will call you at midnight talking about, get up, let's pray.
And it's just so awesome to like have someone to like worship with, do work with, like also work out with, like also, you know, like just relate to on like so many different levels, but like levels that are like very important to your life, you know?
And I think it's cool that even though I'm a mom and you're not a mom necessarily, and even like Xena's not a mom, but I'm a mom, but you raise your nephew and your niece. Like, I just think it's so beautiful that like, even though we're not aligned in that sense, like you still like make me feel like good. Like you don't make me feel weird because I have my kids or whatever. Like, and I don't feel weird that you don't have kids. You have nieces that you love that are around the same age as my daughter, one of my daughters, and like, my daughter be like, is Titi Kiara coming on? What? Like, girl, that's like, cute. Can you like get to know her, ma'am? Like, she's like, I love her. She's my Titi. Like, she told me that she's my Titi. Like, okay. But I wanted to take the time, like, now that we're sharing that, like, like, tell me a little bit, like, how have you been able to maintain celibacy and you know, saving yourself and like not settling for like the first person that calls you beautiful, or, you know, like, how have you been able to not be Delulu?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I have not been able to. I think it's not only hard, it's probably impossible for most. Right? And I think a lot of people really do struggle a lot with like lust and perversion and things like that. And so a lot of it really can be out of your control, if not for God's grace, to be honest. And I think for me, it took a lot of, mentally it was hard. Especially with how you mentioned, how do you not jump at the first person that comes, because you're like, oh, okay, maybe this is my husband, this is
right.
God. Not knowing that
everybody's my husband,
girl. Especially when they find like, oh, like
I mean, like he looked at me in Walgreens. He's my husband.
I had to nip that in the butt, like,
no,
girl,
for real.
relax.
Bro, like, that's scary.
No, it really is. And especially when someone comes around and they check all the boxes, and you're like, oh, but he's this and he's that and he's that. Okay, but did you talk to God though? Oof. To you, he's all the boxes, but
and especially if they're in church too, you're like, oh God, he must be like.
Exactly, he can be in church, but is he for you? What if that's somebody else's man? You don't know that. You don't know who God. And I think a lot of time people are like, well, God doesn't select marriages for people, but to be honest, he really does.
I feel like he selects everything.
Exactly, like he's sovereign. That's the point of being sovereign. Like, yeah, we have the will to choose, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't put it together for us.
I love that.
My friends have laughed at me. Like, I've liked ugly dudes before.
Right, me
Well,
too.
they weren't ugly to me. And one thing I think is important, when you get at face value, someone may not be the most attractive person, but genuinely, I've been in positions where once I got to know the person and saw how beautiful they were on the inside, to me, it came outward. And it really did enhance their looks, and I was attracted to them.
For me, a funny man enhances his attractiveness to me. If you're funny, you automatically become attractive to me. But I think there's a difference between thinking somebody is not like physically attractive, but being attracted to them from a holistic perspective, like not from an aesthetic perspective. I do think you need to be attracted to a person from a holistic perspective.
Yeah,
And
of course. Because why else would you be with them?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But yeah. And so this might be too much, but I also, like, if I could be completely transparent, and again, like, I'm just gonna be real. Sexually, right? Like, I've struggled and I struggle with this notion of like saving myself for somebody and then sexually, like, getting married and not, obviously, you, right? Because you're saving yourself for marriage, so you don't know how sex would be with them, and then imagine it's terrible.
How spiritual we getting here?
Go ahead.
So I was listening to his pastor. He was talking about deliverance and soul ties and things like that. And he was explaining that a lot of people, in the sense of like sexually transmitted demons, right? So some people get diseases, some people get demons. And a lot of times you don't even know who you're sleeping with. And maybe your best experience was the greatest you ever had, but you probably weren't even sleeping with a human being. You probably were sleeping with somebody who was a demon or was carrying something that you had no business joining yourself with in the first place. So it's not that you're looking for a great sexual experience. You're longing for something that was not even of God in the first place. So.
And it's very spiritual. So we have 10 minutes left and we're going to wrap up. But I want to take the opportunity for you guys to just, I don't want to say promote because I don't like that term, but just I want you guys to share a little bit about what you're actively doing right now with respect like to Batty Professor and with respect to the insurance, the law firm, and all the things, because you doing all the things. I want you to share that, and I want to close with that.
All right. So I own a law firm, Mahanim Law. I work with landlords, help with evictions, I talk to tenants. I have, I do employment law as well. I help employees who maybe you've been discriminated against at work. I deal with employers too, as far as, improving their HR, basically whatever HR issues that they're having, help them improve that, help them understand how to conduct investigations and things of that nature. Contracts, I work with businesses, I guess. I also do insurance as well. So I deal with life insurance, mortgage protection. A lot of the landlords, obviously you own properties and things of that nature. A lot of them don't know what mortgage protection is. So I try to educate property owners as far as what is mortgage protection, why wills are important, why trusts are important.
Estate planning.
Exactly, pretty much. So just helping, especially people in our community who don't know what any of that is and don't care what it is. But then, later on, like a month or two, if something happens in the family, see a GoFundMe go up. It's like, these are the things you can put in place so that you don't have to have a GoFundMe or depend on the community to support you. You can support yourself and build generational wealth in the process.
Amen. And where can we follow you and follow all the beautiful and amazing things that you're doing?
Xena Robinson _ on Instagram.
Amen. Yeah. Do you have a TikTok?
How do you spell that?
XenaRobinson _ I do have a TikTok, but I really don't be on there.
That's fine. You know that shit. We're going to be viral on TikTok one day.
Amen.
And then tell me a little bit about what you're doing on TikTok because it's important work.
Yeah. So I love teaching, and I left teaching.
And you're great at it.
I left teaching to do this doctoral program. So I felt called really to continue teaching math and like making it accessible for everyone, because math is just one of those like what we call epistemologically exclusive fields because it builds from kindergarten, like you need everything you learn to keep going.
Love that.
So yeah, I'm just making math accessible. Right now, math, we may expand to other things. But I just want to like spread my knowledge with the world and also like break stigmas. Like,
please,
break stigmas about women especially brown and Black women, and like what we can do and who we can be, and that we can be intelligent and still like to, still like fashion, still
be beautiful, be sexy.
Yeah, so embrace the multifaceted nature of women, because we are powerful and we should embody that power. So that's what I'm doing.
Amazing. And then I'm doing my business, Trust Us Property Solutions, property management and consulting all over the state of Massachusetts. I also have this podcast that we're going to be doing moving forward with my amazing producer that's behind the scenes. I'm very grateful for him. I also have another podcast that I'm a co-host on, the Far From Perfect podcast. Excuse me. And I'm a full-time student. I'm going to be a lawyer bae.
Hey,
I'm going to be a lawyer bae. And you can follow me on Instagram at Gotta Die Daily, GOTTADYDAILY. And with that, we're going to thank the Lord because he allowed for all of this. I'm going to thank my beautiful guests for coming. Maybe not necessarily guests. Maybe, who knows? Maybe this is going to be a thing.
You never know what the Lord's going to do.
No. And I want to thank the man behind the camera so much just for like bringing this to fruition and having this vision and just like having passion for this. Like, this is going to be big, and not because we're glorifying ourselves, but because we want to spread the name of God and glorify him in everything that we're doing. I'm just really excited for you guys to see more. It's going to get spicy. Peace out.
Thank you.
Bye.